This is Spoiler.
Welcome to a minor edition of Spoilers. Today, me and my co-producer, Mikey Toller, are discussing what might be considered one of the greatest video game franchises of all time, Uncharted, and the particular one we are discussing is Uncharted 4.
Our first ever minor spoilers that includes a video game.
This
Ever.
is
Yeah.
very true. It's almost,
we're not doing movies or TV anymore. We're doing video games as well.
I think a lot of people on Twitter and Apple will consider that an upgrade.
Nobody's asked for it, but we're doing it anyway.
No one's asked for it, but I feel like our views have plummeted severely. So we're really jumping the shark here and going towards video games.
We're crossing all boundaries. We're doing all sorts of mediums.
Yeah, just wait for adult films next week. That'll be one of our finer adventures. But get this started here. So, in the beginning of Uncharted 4, does it start out with him in prison?
I wasn't exactly sure where the timeline started. I didn't know if it started with... Is this like in between stories at some point?
I think this was before Drake's Fortune #1, because you never hear about his brother.
Yeah, it started somewhere in between Drake's Fortune, and then it progressed past that.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like.
Yeah, that's what I got from it. This, like the other Uncharted games, was going towards pretty much just trying to find treasure, and this time it ended up being an actual pirate's treasure, Henry Avery's treasure, and...
Apparently a real pirate.
Was he a real pirate?
I think all of the pirates in this game were real pirates. I think is.
Well, let my fingers do some work here, and we'll find the exact research.
I think looking. I kind of did half research, just like looking up the achievements on this game, and it looked like all of these pirates were real people.
Yeah, he was a real pirate. Henry Avery, also Avery and Avery. Erroneously, John Avery was an English pirate in the Atlantic and Indian Oceans in the mid-1690s. It's kind of a weird way to say that. Mm-hmm. But long story short, Nate, unlike the other previous games, has a brother named Sam. And him and this really shady guy, they meet in this Panama prison?
Yeah.
Yeah, this prison in Panama. This guy named Rafe. Kind of get in cahoots with
apparently someone they had worked with before or worked with previously or something, and had done previous jobs with Rafe.
Yeah,
which was never brought up in any of the other
you never
games.
hear about this character, even though I feel like he'd have been kind of a big part of Nate's life. Mm-hmm. Also, I feel like his brother should have been a bigger part of this life, considering it's the fourth game and you're just now hearing about how he has a brother.
And it also seems like they've also done previous jobs before, or gone on adventures before this game, and it was never brought up.
There should have been one point where Sully was...
Or just like a reference point of like, oh, hey, I also have a brother.
Just one point where Nate's like, damn, I miss Sam. But there's this like tower in the Panamanian prison. It holds a crucifix, which is that where we find like the note?
What do we find in that tower?
I feel like we find some type of map almost, or like some type of hidden key. Long story short, it sends them on this wild goose chase to find Henry Avery's treasure. While escaping, Nate, Rafe, and Sam are all trying to escape this Panamanian prison, in which Sam does not make it when he's gunned down, jumping from another building to a building.
Supposedly,
he supposedly dies in Nate's poor arms, which he drops him.
Drops him into a fiery pit of prison.
Yeah.
Prison trash or something. Drops him into an alleyway in the prison.
I feel like this should... And from there, it was at 15 years before, right? So we do like a 15-year time jump.
This is the part I don't understand, is where does Uncharted 3 end where does this story begin? What is that 15-year period?
No. This is like 15 years. Like this is even before like Uncharted 1. The Panamanian prison was even before Uncharted 1.
Uncharted 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's been 15 years. We got Uncharted
1, 2, 3. Elena, Chloe, Sully, the whole gang.
Okay.
And not once was Sam mentioned. Not once.
That seems kind of like a thing that you would bring up maybe when you're drinking at some point.
Yeah, I feel like Nate had to at least gotten drunk at one point in his life and was like, hey, check this out.
I also had a brother
that died in a Panamanian prison. And I also had this teammate named Rafe who's a psychopath.
He's also a treasure hunter and might want to try and find some treasure that we're looking for later on.
Yeah, so we jump 15 years later. Now, what is Nate doing? Is he like a recovery guy?
He's like I don't know. He's like a salvage worker or something.
I feel like he's in Louisiana being a salvage worker.
That's what I thought. Exactly the same thing. Is like he's working like in the deep south of.
Yeah, I feel like he was like in the deep south. Like y'all come back now, south.
Working in the Gulf of Mexico, digging up shit from shipwrecks.
Like, don't allow transgenders in different bathrooms. It's like south. I feel like that's where he was, just like salvaging stuff. And so the guy in charge of this company offers him a recovery job in Malaysia.
An illegal job in Malaysia.
A real job in Malaysia.
A shady Malaysian job.
Yeah, which never comes to fruition. Nate's like, that's behind me now. I don't do my treasure hunting anymore.
I mean, but it's not really treasure hunting. It's recovering copper from a sunken ship or something.
Yeah, I feel like Nate wants to leave a lot of that behind him.
And Nate was like, that's not treasure. That's
yeah.
He's like, I'm not gonna risk my.
I feel like he's really scared of Elena at this point.
Yeah,
because like the difference between this game and the first three was, first game barely knew Elena, second game estranged girlfriend, third game estranged wife, fourth game okay it's his. They live together now. They're no longer estranged.
Were they married in the third game?
Yeah.
Oh, they were. I did not realize that.
Yeah, they were married in the third game. They were just like estranged husband and wife, and I kind of lost my train of thought there. Damn it.
So they're on this barge ship and they're looking for what are they looking for? They're
boxes of something.
It's just boxes.
It's just random stuff,
random materials or whatever.
I feel like it was probably worth a lot of money to you and I.
I mean, to us, yeah,
And so. He goes back home after denying this owner the Malaysian job, finds Elena. Actually, it's a pretty decent sized house, don't you think? For all like
they live a comfortable lifestyle. Apparently, according to my walkthrough of their house, and
yeah, they
have a lot of space, and they live in.
I would kill
nice
for that
area,
house.
And
I would definitely kill for that house.
But you get the impression that Nate is bored throughout the entire time that he's living.
Yeah, because there's this attic where he has all of his treasure and memories, and like you start off like going through all your previous adventures.
And there's a point where you pick up like a Nerf gun essentially, and you're just like shooting targets to progress through that level until Elena tells you to come back down the stairs, like to get on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like Elena's tremendously supportive of the whole.
Elena seems to be kind of holding him back. I mean, I don't know. I mean, compared to their other adventures,
like every game
you obviously don't want your husband to go around traipsing through ancient civilizations,
almost dying all 3 times.
Yeah, almost dying every 30 seconds, but.
Yeah, and I feel like
it seems that their life is pretty boring compared to what it was, and they both.
Yeah, this is probably the most boring Nate has ever started off.
Yeah, and they both realize that, and they're. I mean, Nate at least has recognized that and just feels like he wants something more out of life.
Yeah, and so okay, my big question is, how did we start off with the whole crucifix again? How did that come back into play?
The crucifix thing? Okay, that was in...
Well, okay, according to Nate, it technically wasn't a crucifix.
Yeah, it's not a crucifix because it's not Jesus. Apparently it's Saint Dismas.
What was it? The thief, the saint of... Yeah.
I guess that's the other guy that was next to Jesus when he was on.
Yeah, because it was Babarus. He was like the bad guy, Jesus, and then there was Dismas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know exactly the lore of this story, but it seems like...
Yeah, see, that's my big issue, because I have such bad ADD. I, like, have trouble remembering everything.
Yeah, they kind of don't really stick with that storyline. Or, I mean, the Dismas thing, really, after he gets to Scotland, they kind of drop that.
Before that, shocker. So there's like this big auction going on for that Saint Dismas cross, and the real big shocker is Sam is still alive, and he kind of comes. Okay, that's how it comes back. He comes back with the story saying this guy who he owes a lot of money to. Wants that treasure from Henry Avery, and they're auctioning off that Saint Dismas cross that they lost to Panamanian prison.
Yeah.
And you need to help me steal it at like this really rich auction. Rafe is there. He's with this woman named Nadine, who's a psychopath
and badass.
Very badass. She like when her and Nate square off in the mansion, she beats the tar out of
every
him.
male character in this game.
Not once is Nadine worked over. Nadine is just this petite black woman who just takes everybody to task.
She is the female equivalent of fierce.
Yeah, very. And so Sully, Sam, and Nate break into this mansion, kind of disguised like, as higher ups. Have this awesome gameplay where Sam ends up stealing the cross from Rafe, who's betting like $600,000 on it, and we go from there. This adventure takes us everywhere from Scotland.
Where was this auction at? I mean,
I thought it was in Italy.
I can't remember exactly where it's at, but yeah, Italy sounds kind of right. But it's like Italy, Scotland, Madagascar.
Another island, another island.
Africa at one point.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of takes place all over the world, and I feel like this game kind of traveled more than any other game
I thought
previously has gone before.
Yeah, and we're also going to mention this was also the longest game, I thought, by a good stretch.
Yeah, I feel like this game took
because I feel like you can complete all the other ones in about 10 hours. Mm-hmm. Maybe even under that. This one, I mean, this is probably 15 to 17 hours.
I mean, that's not long for
a game, but just for a single person, like
compared to the others as well. I mean, it also felt much longer than the other games.
I thought this game was going to end at Act 2. Lo and behold, I didn't know there was an extra 5 hours. So you go for Scotland, looking for Henry Avery's grave. Great gameplay. I mean, it's like the other Uncharted's, wave after wave of people. Mm-hmm. They added the element of kind of you could sneak around now.
Yeah, there's a lot more stealth in this game.
A lot more stealth.
I utilize that a lot more in this time around compared to other games. I mean, just because it's not even an option in other games. Yeah,
you're kind of in the other games. You're kind of just given this one path of you better to kill everybody every wave, otherwise you're not getting past the level.
And the one gripe I had with the other games compared to this game, the previous games, the enemies were basically bullet sponges, and you had to shoot them so many times more compared to this game.
I still feel like this game took a lot of bullets.
I don't know. I mean, compared to the other games, if you played the other games before, if you go back,
if you weren't a headhunter in the other games, you were doing it wrong. Yeah,
it just feels. The combat overall in this game is so much better, I feel like, compared to the other games.
Yeah, and I also felt like the enemies were harder, like much tougher, the AI was a lot smarter in this game.
They're smarter, yeah.
Like in the other games, you could kind of burrow down in one spot, kind of pick everybody off, then move on. This game, you did not stay at one spot for long.
No, that's not an option because your whatever you're hiding behind deteriorates whenever you're getting shot at.
And I felt like the enemies had infinite grenades.
Yeah.
Oh
That and
my god!
they also try to flank you. It feels like when
In Scotland, when you had to kind of like climb, like the miniature castles, and like you had to be stealthy about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you were caught, there was 3 people behind you waiting with shotguns, just waiting to take you out.
Yeah, the AI was a lot better in this game, and it was a welcome challenge compared to the other games where
Because you had options. You could either be guns ablazing, which is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too ADD to be stealth. That's why I'm awful at Metal Gear Solid games. I'm just not patient enough. I'm kind of a run and gun guy. But you said you utilize the stealth more.
I like the stealth in this game. I mean, it wasn't like super advanced like any type of Splinter Cell game, obviously, because Splinter Cell, that's the main point of the game. But
Can't wait for the movie.
You could like sneak up in the grass and like take down several people before you had.
You could go through like a whole segment being stealth. You just had to be really smart about it.
Yeah, that's just a whole different element to the game that previously wasn't available in any of the other Uncharted games.
In Scotland, also in previous levels, but it's really used in Scotland. You have this rope option now, where you could literally throw out a rope on ledges and swing all over cliffs.
I love the rope option.
I loved it. I thought it was
There's nothing better than swinging from the rope and knocking out someone while swinging from the rope.
Like jumping off the rope and coming down on them.
Yeah, that's a great animation.
Yeah, and so Scotland, I mean, is snow, ocean, sliding through mud. And Scotland was also home to one of my favorite puzzles, which was rearranging the crosses in the bucket of water.
Yeah, that was one of the tougher puzzles.
Because it was definitely a puzzle, because this game, I thought, was probably the weakest out of Uncharted puzzles when it comes to difficulty.
Yeah, the puzzles were not that hard at all.
The puzzles, I mean, if you've played God of War, Uncharted, I mean, just your normal, like what you expect from puzzle games, this was probably the weakest out of all the Uncharted.
In previous Uncharted, I've had to look up like game facts of how to
this one
do the puzzles. And
I mean,
this one,
there was
just
one
like
we'll get to in a
trial
little
and
bit, but this water bucket challenge, like, I thought this was cool because it added something to where if you were wrong, you died. Were you wrong when you tried it?
No, I made sure that
I
was
died. I got way too impatient, and I was like, yeah, that looks all right. And so when Sam's like, are you sure that's good? And he's like, yep. Scared the hell out of me when I had spikes go through all my body.
Really?
Yeah. So we go through Scotland. I mean, you're fighting waves. Scotland's a big part of the game.
Scotland is, I feel like that part of the game took the longest for me.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you're climbing cliff after cliff. You're cascading down. You're using ropes. You have tons of enemies.
Also, I feel like that was the most realistic scenery I've ever seen in a game, was the Scotland portion of the game.
I felt like
literally looked like, what is the last fourth of what is the James Bond movie, Skyfall? It basically looks like the movie, the last portion of Skyfall.
I thought this was probably the strongest part of the game.
It was, it was amazing.
I thought Scotland was my favorite part of the game.
Yeah.
I wish it could, the whole game could have taken place in Scotland, and I would have been happy.
Yeah, it was really, really great.
Not that the other parts of the game are severely weak. It's just I felt like Scotland was so strong.
Yeah.
I think this is where maybe the developers are put their A team on.
It felt like that.
Yeah, because they were like, okay, you guys got Scotland. I got all my A team here.
Yeah.
Go.
Scotland was really great because it was a mix of, you're gonna run into bad guys. You're gonna run into like a mix of, okay, there's a bunch of bad guys here in this area, and then there's also a mix of climbing challenges. Like you're gonna have to figure out your way. There was a
lot of climbing.
Yeah, you're gonna have to figure out your way climbing through all.
This
of
game
terrain.
also like proposed like you kind of had to be smart about your climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was saying, like Scotland definitely strongest part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where like we kind of meet Nadine's revolutionary soldiers that she has at her hand disposal.
Yeah, Shoreline.
Yeah, Shoreline. They are just blowing Scotland apart, looking for any clues they can.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of see Nate's and Sam's relationship really build up in Scotland. I think this is because like I really didn't like the Nate character at first. But it was nearly like at the end of Scotland, I was like, okay, I actually care about this character.
You really like the Sam character.
Yeah. Sam character, my bad. Yeah,
I mean, throughout the whole thing, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but it's just because I have a brother who was like, oh man, I'm totally Sam.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can totally relate to that guy. Just like trying to, you kind of let down your younger brother, and it's like you're only trying to make up for lost time
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, I totally see where Sam's coming from and blah, blah, blah. But Sam to me was like, he's one of the greatest video game characters I've seen in recent years, and he's like, I don't know, he's so relatable, and it's like
that, and I thought the writing was so well done. Like, you could actually feel a really cool bond between Sam and
yeah,
Nate.
it felt like a real relationship, even though there's been no previous
mention.
no mention or previous connection of any type of to Sam before, and it was like, I don't know how they shoehorned that in there or how they tried to figure that out, but it was like Sam has always been here.
Yeah, and like you kind of like find out where Nate gets his like smart ass like comments from, and like just his personality. Like him and Sam are so much alike, but yet in this game are so much different.
Yeah, Sam is a really great character. I really like Sam.
Yeah, he was played by Troy Baker. Is that his name?
Troy Baker, yeah.
Who played Joel in The Last of Us, another Naughty Dog production.
Troy Baker, one of the greatest video game voice actors
Of all time.
of all time.
Yeah, he was absolutely awesome.
He was, what's his face in Bioshock Infinite, one of my favorite games ever.
Bioshock Infinite was great. If you guys want us to, we will spoil that. But, so after Scotland, we head to Madagascar.
Yeah, to Madagascar.
And I guess I don't love Uncharted for the stories. I just love the gameplay and the characters.
I mean, this part of the game, I definitely love the Scotland part more.
Madagascar wasn't great. The clock tower was cool.
The clock tower was really cool. I enjoyed that part, but the clock tower, the motorcycle chase.
Motorcycle chase was cinematically beautiful.
Yeah, and you didn't really have to do anything
No.
during the motorcycle chase. It was
If you died during that, you were trying to die.
yeah. The motorcycle chase was so awesome, but it was only just to look at. Like, it was not.
Yeah,
It didn't really involve
the
any-
Madagascar level really didn't make me feel great.
Yeah.
I didn't like get like the response that Scotland maybe gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
You had that underground level where this was the one puzzle that really tricked me, was the painting puzzle.
With all the pirates?
Yeah, you had to kind of open up a different room of pirates,
Yeah.
get their symbols, kind of you had to like match up their symbols of different blocks on a piece of wood, and that triggered another room to open.
Yeah.
That was the one puzzle that maybe tricked me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get through that pretty easily?
I don't think I had to look anything up on that, but it was
It
just.
was a little tricky. It was annoying.
It was
tedious.
Yeah, it was kind of tedious. Yeah.
Yeah, very tedious. So after that, if I remember correctly, is after Madagascar. This is where we kind of hit the meat of the story, and everything kind of starts to unravel.
Yeah, this is where everything starts to
makes sense.
make sense. Because up to this point, you're kind of just.
In the dark.
Yeah, it's just Rafe is trying to go after this treasure, and you don't.
No one really knows where this treasure is or why.
Yeah, and after they get to Madagascar, the rest of the game takes place in Madagascar, right? Like, it's just like
An island off Madagascar,
off of
isn't it?
Madagascar?
This is where we find what's it called?
Libertalia.
Libertalia.
Wait, are we just gonna skip over the Africa part?
Wait, this is how long this game is, dude. Go to Africa if you know where it's at.
I thought the Africa part was pretty fun.
Which part is the Africa part?
Okay, not the part where you're driving around a Jeep.
I hated that.
No, but the part where you're fighting people in different towers. Where you're
You
fighting
mean like
people.
when you're almost kind of like in like the safari, like
Yeah, when you're in
that
the
was
safari.
pretty.
Yeah, the game looks great.
The game looks gorgeous. Like the mud looks awesome. The clay.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. And you're fighting people in like different towers that are placed.
Yeah, because you're looking
around.
for a different tower. Because
Yeah.
Avery and his men built different towers, and one was the right tower. So you're jumping from tower to tower.
Mm-hmm. But ultimately, all the towers that you go to are not the right tower.
Right, so this
until
is
you get to
typical
the-
Uncharted fashion where it's like, oh good, another one.
Yeah.
And the one that's right ends up being the most difficult because
Yeah.
everyone is there.
Yeah. But all of those fight scenes were great because they set up elements where it's like, oh, you're going to swing off a thing and you're going to...
That was the one level I really like, the one where the bridge is out and
Yeah.
they have that tall tower.
Yeah.
That was the one where I used the most stealth.
Yeah, that was the most fun fighting sequence in the whole game for me.
Yeah.
Because you can take that so many different ways.
You can go guns a-blazing or you can go
Yeah.
stealth.
And you can swing from different points in the game.
A lot of swinging opportunities. Thank you. This game was so long. I completely forgot about that part.
There's certain points in the game where it's like, oh, this is really great. And then there's other points in the game where it's like, I'm just walking around looking for the next gunfight, or I'm driving around looking for the part before the gunfights in Africa is you're just like looking around.
You're driving.
You're looking for treasure.
The part that I really liked was when you have to use, what's it called, a winch on the front of the Jeep.
Oh, the winch, yeah.
The winch. And they're going up on the tree snaps, the Jeep is going off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Nate's flying off, you have to climb up super. I love that part.
Yeah, that part's great.
Like, the cinematics in this game are absolutely great. Especially when it looked like seamless from like a cutscene to the game.
That's the thing about this game is that they had used cutscenes as loading screens. So while cutscenes are happening, it's loading the next level or whatever, the next stage.
Outside of like a few cutscenes where it's obviously a cutscene, it looks like seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Like you feel like you're actually in the game even though it's a cutscene.
Yeah.
So it never really takes you out of like the world that you're in.
Because the second time I've played through it, I'm only playing through it a second time to get the treasures.
How many did you recover at the end?
Well, I'm currently at like 70 out of 109 treasures.
Good God, man. You are so much more attentive than I am. I'm just trying to get through the damn game.
I mean, the first time I played through, I only got like 40 treasures.
That was me. I got like 37.
Yeah. But I'm just like going through the levels, like just looking up online, grabbing the treasures. But the second time, if you try to play and just get through it as fast as you can and you try to skip through the cinematics, you do have to wait quite a long time because the cinematics are the loading screen. Yeah, so that
you
part
might
of the
as well watch them.
That part of the game is what really separates it from other games because you're not waiting. Right. You're fully immersed in the game the entire time.
So after Africa, is this the Libertalia part now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're like
after Africa,
wherever Libertalia is, whatever.
There's this island that's even further away from Madagascar, to where Henry Avery wanted to start a kind of like a pirate oasis where everybody was free.
Yeah.
And this part of the game, well, I mean, after you get off the island and go to another island, like remember there's Libertalia, then they went to New Devon.
Oh, is that another island?
I can't remember.
Oh, was that just like a city on...
I think it was like a city even deep further.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention at that point. I was just trying
neither.
to...
There's Libertalia, and then there's New Devon, which is where this was probably, outside of Scotland, my favorite part of the game. Where it was like water was flooding the houses. Mm-hmm. And this is also the part... before you get to New Devon, where Sam and Nate are broken up by Rafe and Nadia, or Nadine.
Yeah.
Nate gets thrown off a cliff. Insert Elena, his wife that is pissed that he didn't tell he didn't tell her that he was going on this grand adventure. Mm-hmm. And now it's up to like just like old times, Elena and Nate. It's up to saving Sam.
Yeah, Elena just seems kind of shoehorned in at the end.
Yeah.
To me.
How'd she even find that? She's not that good.
I mean, I don't object to it, I guess, but she doesn't really bring anything to the third act of this story.
The only thing she brings is kind of like the emotional heart tugs that Nate might die.
Yeah, which, spoiler, doesn't happen.
But it definitely like tugged at my heartstrings though, because like, you know, it's called A Thief's End. Nate's escaped all these narrow points, and like when you get to the end of the game, which, you know, is wave after wave of people, this game gets hard at the end, because you have those guys with the torrented shotguns that have about 1 million pieces of armor on.
Yeah.
That if you don't head shoot, they're not going down. You have guys with shotguns. You have sharpshooters. I mean, you have this whole different layer of different types of enemies.
Yeah.
Guys with RPGs that are all, you know, it's the end of the game when this is happening. Like, when you can walk around and just start packing up on supplies, you know bad things are about to go down.
The thing is, the part I hated most about the last third of this game was that for the longest time, there are no enemies. You're just walking through
Which
tunnels.
It was deliberate on Naughty Dog's part, because it's always the biggest complaint of the Uncharted games was you're just wave fighting.
Yeah.
There's no kind of break in between.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of their attempt of kind of show off the game, maybe.
But for this game, I mean, I feel like for this game, they could have pulled it off because the fighting is so much better in this game.
The fighting is elite in this game. I mean,
the shooting in this game is so much better than previous
the shooting,
Uncharted
the way
games.
you
can take cover.
To survive in this game, you literally have to take cover at every inch of every level.
Yeah.
You can't stay in one spot for very long. But yeah, I agree with you. I didn't. Yeah, it was long.
You're just like
a half hour.
Yeah, like walking through a tunnel, like escaping exploding.
Okay, let's
mummies.
bring that part up.
Exploding mummies.
Avery lost his mind and like mummified his crew in the tunnels beneath his mansion, and rigged them with some type of.
That part was just so annoying to me because you could.
Could you get by him without?
No,
I didn't know how to do it.
I took damage every time.
So did I. Is there a way? Is there a way? Because I was
I
like
tried to
running.
run into that area and then run back as quickly as I could and like dive out of the way.
There was a part I was like shooting him and I was like nothing happened and I was like, oh damn it.
I took damage every single time.
So did I. And there was times where like you get into a room and there's 10 of them surrounding you and you're like, oh good, more of this.
The exploding mummies, not great. Not the greatest part of the Uncharted franchise.
So I'll put this out there. The story of Uncharted, like of the treasure they're after, isn't that fantastic, but the story of Nate and Sam like really shines. Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of like the story of the treasure brings Nate and Sam like even closer.
Yeah. Oh, we also have to mention that this treasure. Okay, Sam had said that this treasure, half of it was going to this.
Oh yeah, to this guy this
drug dealer.
Yeah, drug dealer he owed money to.
Alcaraz
Alcaraz,
who broke him out of prison and demanded half of whatever he found.
And so that's kind of why Nate is thrust into everything. He's trying to save Sam.
And Alcaraz
doesn't exist.
He's actually dead, and this was Sam's ploy to get Nate to join him on this treasure hunt.
Yeah.
To find this treasure and
also while double crossing Rafe because he was like working for Rafe.
Yeah, he was also working for Rafe at the same time.
Which, bring this up, Rafe was like the weakest bad guy in the world.
Rafe was not a great bad guy.
No, he was far from like a menacing bad guy. Because he never really kind of like pushed Nate, you know what I mean? It was almost like a race. You never really saw Rafe all that much.
Nadine was more of a badass bad guy.
Nadine was more of a menacing bad guy than Rafe was.
At least with Nadine, you know that she could beat the shit out of you and actually cause some damage.
And so after all this, after New Devon, which was beautiful, New Devon was pretty much this giant pirate oasis full of mansions. Like the mansions are like flooded, buildings falling apart. Avery's mansion looks so cool. After all of this, you find out that Avery's treasure is actually in the middle, like kind of like Goonies. It was like this giant ship in the middle of a cliff of a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was it just reminded me of Goonies off the bat.
It was very Goonies-esque,
Yeah.
but also it was totally epic. Like, it was...
We're getting there, so...
I mean, the first time you see this mountain, it looks like an animal's mouth or something. It looks like
it
a
looks
tiger's.
really cool.
It looks like a tiger's mouth or something. It's like, I kind of bet that something's going to take place at that mountain.
Yeah.
The first time you see it, when you're like washed up ashore from this level called like Marooned or something, like chapter 19 or something called Marooned or something. And it's like, I bet something's going to take place at that mountain. And eventually that's where the game ends up. And
well, why though? Because I mean, eventually you're like, okay, Sam, Sully, Nate, and Elena are gonna leave the island. You know, they're going towards the plane. Mm-hmm. And Sam, who wants the treasure so badly, just takes off. And Nate, in an attempt to save his brother, goes after him. This is how you end up in the mountain.
Yeah, because Nate doesn't want the treasure.
No, he just wants to go home.
He's already been crossed by his brother, tricked into trying to find this treasure.
He's exhausted.
And he knows that Rafe isn't going to stop unless he kills them, and so he just gives up and just wants to go home.
Yeah, that was kind of cool about Rafe. He didn't just want the treasure; he wanted like Nate and Sam dead.
Yeah, Rafe was. This was the part that made Rafe
kind of cool.
Kind of a good bad guy. Was the part that he was jealous of Nate. He was. I mean, he wasn't jealous of Sam because Sam has been in prison, but he was just jealous of Nate because he knew that Nate had this legend around him, and he had referenced that multiple times.
Yeah, Nate at this point was like world famous.
Yeah, he mentioned that Nate was a world famous.
Yeah, like everybody loved Nate, and I just like Rafe was kind of like this, you know, silver spoon dickhead.
Yeah,
that will never amount to anything without, you know, Nate and Sam's help.
Rafe was already rich. I don't know about famous, but
he was just rich.
He was just rich, and he wanted glory for himself.
And so we get into this ship that Avery has lined with explosives again because he lost his damn mind. And Nate makes it in, finds Sam trapped beneath this pillar. Mm-hmm. And this was... You said you love this part.
I love this part.
Go ahead and explain what happens.
Okay. Nate walks into this sunken ship, this half-sunken ship in the mouth of this mountain. And he finds his brother underneath this pillar. He's confronted by Rafe, and Nadine is also there as well. And Nadine explicitly says that she wants no part of this treasure anymore, and she locks Rafe and Nate and an unconscious Sam in this room with nothing but the treasure, and Rafe and Nate are left to duke it out.
Yeah,
duke it out for the last act of this.
This was
game.
Also my favorite line of the whole game.
Yeah.
Because Rafe has this incredible way of acting better than Nate and Sam, even though he's just nowhere near as cool. And so Rafe grabs a sword, and then Nate grabs a sword and says, "On guard, dickhead."
Yeah, and I was so jacked at this point because everything on this boat is
on fire.
Everything's going to shit. Sam is underneath a fallen wooden pillar, and it looks like it's the end for someone.
I mean, I thought this was the end for Nate. I thought he was going to die rescuing Sam.
Honestly, I thought someone had to die.
Yeah.
One of the main characters had to die, and I was expecting Sam to die, and I was emotionally invested in it. And when he said, "On guard, motherfucker," I was like, "Oh, Sam's gonna die. Sam's gonna die." But
I mean, did you play this game on hard or normal?
Just normal.
I played it on hard, and this was actually kind of tricky.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was tricky.
Mm-hmm.
You really had to kind of be on your toes for this sword fight. Thank God Nate ends up, winning. And
yeah, Nate ends up winning and then figures out a way to pin Sam from.
Yeah, it shoots a cannon at him.
He shoots a cannon in the ground and floods the ship. And
So like the water can lift the
rises
pillar.
the pillar, and they end up escaping. And
Is this where Rafe met his demise?
yeah, Rafe gets a crate of treasure dropped on him.
Yeah, that's how Nate won. He cut the rope and
He cuts a rope and drops a bunch of treasure on Rafe and says a witty line.
very Nate-esque witty line. They end up leaving, and I mean, when Elena left Nate at chapter 22, which I think was just called A Thief's End,
Yeah.
and says, it's not fair, you better come back. I was like, this is where Nate dies. I was like so nervous. I was like, please don't let Nate die.
I never thought Nate was going to die during this game. I thought Sam was going to be the one to die, and I was so emotionally ready for Sam to die because it always felt like he was kind of like sacrificing himself to get to this treasure.
Yeah. You thought he was probably going to die with the treasure.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly, I feel like the end of this story for this game kind of takes a hit because it doesn't end with Sam's death.
Well,
I feel like it would be. This game is like at an 8 right now for me, and if Sam had died,
10.
it would have been a 10. Yeah.
Yeah, because what makes the relationship so powerful is when they had like these younger year levels where Nate's at an orphanage, Sam's out on his own.
Yeah.
And Sam breaks Nate out of the orphanage, and they go to their mom's boss's house.
Yeah, it's like their mom's.
Her
like,
mom was like an
yeah.
adventurer as
Yeah,
well,
and
and you
like
find
the
out
lady.
that Drake isn't even their last name.
It's
It's
like
Morgan.
Morris, yeah.
Yeah, and so his mom had this theory that Sir Francis Drake had an heir, and that's how number 1 got started. Mm-hmm. And so this is where you really feel like the emotional kind of impact of Nate and Sam together, where they are just the best team ever. Mm-hmm. And this is where Sam, at the end of the game where he lives, Sam's finally straightened out, and it ends very happily. And here comes the epilogue where Nate and Elena had a daughter.
Yeah. The epilogue.
You wake up as her as a teenager.
You wake up as her as a teenager playing Crash Bandicoot, a Naughty Dog.
I think that was Naughty Dog's first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently I suck at because I didn't beat any of those levels.
Dude, there had to be a trick to it because you ran through the tunnel and there was that little ledge. I fell every time. I couldn't jump.
I finished the level a couple of times, but I never beat the high score.
Apparently, there's a way to do it, except you have to hit every box.
I would imagine
to beat Elena's high score. You have to
Yeah.
hit every box.
So you wake up and you play Crash Bandicoot, and you're just walking through the house, and you see like flashes, or not flashes. You see moments of time in these people's lives. You see in Drake's and Elena's lives, like you see pictures and stuff. But she ends up walking to this other beach house, and
That's where she finds Drake's cupboard.
Drake's cupboard full of all types of weird shit and
All the adventures you covered over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she runs into her dad and mom, and she asks to explain it all.
And that's when Nate starts telling her the whole story. And also you see letters of Sam and Sully are coming to visit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just ends very happily.
It ends way too happy for me.
Way too happy. You see, you said if Sam would have died, it would have been a 10.
If Sam would have died, this would have been the greatest game I've ever played in my life.
See, if Nate would have died, I would have been an 11 for me. Because
I don't think I could have handled it emotionally.
I don't think I could have handled it emotionally if Nate would have died. I would have been it would have been too much to take.
I think it could have gone either way if Nate or Sam would have died, but I feel like they set it up for Sam to die at the end, and then he just
feel like at some point the producers were like, we can't kill Sam.
Oh, it would have.
It would have, like you said, it would have been the best Uncharted.
Yeah.
Had Sam died, forgive everything after Scotland. You know, New Devon was beautiful. It like kind of like the mediocre points of the game could have been forgiven had Sam died.
Mm-hmm.
It just would have been like, it would have been one of those heavy moments. And we're going to take a quick commercial break and finish up after that.
Oh, that'd be so bad.
This is a really good episode. And welcome back to Spoilers. This episode, me and producer Money Mike have been discussing Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4.
And really just, you thought this ended too happy just because Sam lived. Everybody lived.
Everybody lived. Nobody had any real consequences, and for Nate being a thief for I don't know.
Yeah,
how
and I
many
felt
years,
like Elena really hinted at it, like, you've had these 3 adventures where you almost died. Do you think you can survive another? I think something should have happened.
Something terrible should have happened.
Yeah, and
like someone should have died. I mean, even if Sully had died, it would have been enough of a
all right
tragedy.
Oh, if Sully would have died, I mean, that's Nate's right hand man.
Yeah, I mean that would have been enough to justify like everything else going right in the series.
Yeah, and so what I want you to do for me is I want you to give me your pros, your cons, and where you rank this out of the 4.
Okay. Pros. Best fighting of
best gameplay.
Best gameplay of any of the Uncharted games. You can stealth attack people. You can swing from ropes now and attack people. There's a lot more innovative gameplay in this Uncharted than there has been in the previous games. Cons, there's a lot of climbing in this game.
A lot. I felt like this was the most climbing out of any game.
It felt like there was more climbing in this game than previous games. And also a con, but not... I mean, a con... Someone should have died at the end.
That's a big con.
I feel like if Sam had died at the end, this would have been the greatest game I've ever played, and they could have totally made it into a storyline that rivals most dramatic movies that I've ever seen, because I was so invested in this storyline to begin with.
Yeah, because you just started Uncharted not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I started it just this last year, playing like the remastered editions on PS4, and if Sam had died during this storyline, this would have rivaled BioShock, and that's
one of your probably favorite games of all time.
BioShock,
right?
Nothing is going to be greater than BioShock in my life.
Okay, you see, like I like how you said you're like emotionally invested in it.
Yeah,
that's how I felt like playing Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
When your horse dies in Shadow of the Colossus, you don't know what to do. I mean, it's hold back the tears. The tears aren't coming, buddy. I just don't know what to do at this point. But I'm with you, though. Uncharted 4, definitely best gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Even brawling. Brawling was fun in this game, which is what I do in every Uncharted.
Mm-hmm.
I even got the trophy for, 100 kills with brawling.
Yeah.
My whole thing is just, this game felt long. I felt like this game could have been 2 hours shorter.
It felt longer than the previous games.
It felt long.
Yeah.
Like,
there was a point, like, during the...
I felt like I was playing The Revenant.
There was a point during, like, the jungle missions in Africa where you're just, like, not running into anybody at all.
Yeah.
Like, any enemies at all, and you're just kind of, like, exploring, where it's like, okay, this could have been so much shorter.
Yeah, and so... If I had to rank this out of the Uncharted's, my second favorite, I don't think anything will top Uncharted 2. I think that was the crowning jewel in this series.
Uncharted 2 was really fun.
Uncharted 2, I just think Shambhala, Shangri-La. I know people hated the monsters again, but I thought it was warranted in that game. I think Uncharted 2 is probably the best one.
Also, we should mention that there was no mythical type of...
Yeah, so this is like the first time.
This was just
nothing mythical really happens.
This was a story based in reality. I guess people have said online, apparently, that the mythical part of the story is that the treasure is cursed and that it'll make you so jealous with rage or whatever that you're
that's
just gonna
the mythical part.
Yeah, that
it's
you're
just human
gonna,
nature.
Yeah, that you're just gonna end up destroying yourself. But I don't know. In the previous games, there's always
El Dorado was a cursed statue,
a cursed statue, and then,
the Guardians of Shambhala.
There was a crazy sap or something that turned.
Yeah, the
people
crazy
into
blue sap
monsters.
of the Tree of Life.
And what was the last one?
It was in the desert.
You ate a hallucinogen that made you see monsters or something.
And that's what they used to poison the city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how everything kind of went to hell. It was kind of Dark Knight-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the Batman Begins.
And in this story, the entire time, honestly, I was waiting for like, okay, what is
Pirate Ghosts?
Yeah, where is? I'm gonna run into some pirate zombies.
I thought we were going to see
like,
Captain Avery.
Yeah, when I was traipsing through the underground tunnels or whatever, I was like, okay, these exploding mummies, they're just setting up for zombie mummies.
Yeah.
At some point.
And so they didn't go there.
Yeah,
I was
they
really
didn't go there.
surprised.
Honestly, that didn't really matter to me, but I don't know. It could have used that, I guess, because since no one ever died in the end besides Rafe.
Could have used something.
It could have used something. I mean...
And I really wish Nate would have killed him with a sword instead of the treasure.
Yeah.
That kind of...
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
out of the Uncharteds, where do you rank this out of the Uncharteds?
For gameplay, this is number one.
Number one, but overall...
Overall... I would still say number one.
Number one for you?
Yeah, I would still say number one.
Okay.
This is the first Uncharted game where it's like, oh man, I gotta go back and I gotta find all those treasures. And I gotta try and get some of these trophies.
Wasn't
like,
Scotland just beautiful?
Scotland is a great
Oh my god.
period of the game to try and play
Even
through
if you
again.
quit the game after Scotland, just playing Scotland is worth it.
Yeah, the
like-
visuals are pretty amazing.
That
It looks like a movie.
The whole series has felt like a movie, which is I can understand why Sony wanted to develop it into a movie. Mark Wahlberg was on to sign. The director of Silver Linings Playbook was up to do it. Everything fell through, and now it's just in limbo. And now we have an Assassin's Creed movie that doesn't even make sense anymore.
Out of all of the Uncharted movies, which part of the series has felt like the most action packed? Like, what part of the series do you feel like is, I don't know how to explain it, like the most that you'd want to see on screen?
Easily the bridge at Shambhala, when the bridge is collapsing and the Guardians of Shambhala are chasing him. Elena sliding down, Nate sliding down. Pretty sure Elena gets shot. I mean, there's so much going on in Uncharted 2 at that point. I felt like that's on screen the one I want to see.
Is Uncharted 2 the scene with the plane? The cargo plane? Because
That's Uncharted 3.
Uncharted 3? Oh my god. That is
Wouldn't that
probably,
be something to see?
That is my most
I
favorite
feel like if they
part.
made a movie, they could steal so much from the games and fans wouldn't even care.
That is basically like an Indiana Jones movie on steroids.
Well, this the way I always look at this is Sony's answer to Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up a huge PlayStation fan, Crash Bandicoot was always the mascot.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation 2 is probably Kratos. Kratos is probably the mascot of PlayStation. PS3 and on has always been Nathan Drake. I feel like Nathan Drake has owned, just being like carrying the banner for Sony. Mm-hmm. People bought the system just to play this game. And so I'm really, as I said, even though I like 2 more, nothing against 4. It's a crowning achievement. It looked beautiful. I just kind of, like you said, I wish someone had died of consequence.
Yeah. That would have just elevated the game to...
If like you said, it would have put it over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Because in the end, it felt like there was no
consequences for anything.
consequences. Yeah, no consequences for anything.
So luckily, us being Naughty Dog fans, huge Naughty Dog fans, we can look forward to Last of Us 2, because I nearly cried at the end of Last of Us 1.
I have still not beat Last of Us.
Oh, Bubba, go home. Go home and play. I mean, there's...
yeah, it's to me, it's a much more difficult game than Uncharted.
Oh, it's really make one false move and you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... especially if Arya and Josh Brolin are going to be the leads in the movie.
Sounds great.
So, we're at the end of this episode of... It was an action-packed episode of Uncharted 4. Anything you want to add?
No, I think we said everything that we need
I
to
think
say.
so, too. Go ahead and sign off here. I am Stevie, recording from Mishawaka.
I'm Mikey, recording from Stevie's house in Mishawaka.
And if you'd like to get a hold of us, we are on that unforgiving machine known as Twitter. You can contact us at SpoilersPDCST.
Is that our Twitter name?
Yep. At SpoilersPDCST, or as our main producer says, Pipkist. You can also contact us at podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Okay. So our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. And as always, our intro and outro was beautifully crafted by Joshua Hensley, who is a part of the band the Rutabaga. So definitely check them out.
That was spoiler.
I got that sunshine in my pocket.